Hi everyone, it's Anna Wheaton from Nudge Nudge Ink Ink. Today I'm going to teach you the black ice technique. We have done this recently in a class and it's a beautiful technique that's really quite simple. Basically you need some foil, you need Versamark ink, black StazOn, and then you need clear embossing powder to achieve the effect. Here's one that we did in class. So you can see the black ice is sort of a streaky effect, both from the StazOn and the Versamark. So we're going to do a different design here, still from the same stamp set. So the stamp set we're using, if you're watching this in March, April 2022, this stamp set, Beautiful Moments, is retiring. So it is 20% off. $32. It's one of the stamp sets by one of the $1 million sales achievers, Jackie Williams, who is in New Zealand. And this is actually the island that can be seen off the coast of Auckland. I just say that vaguely. I should really make sure I know the details. I'll look that up. So yes, here is the stamp set. So the technique of black ice requires foil first and StazOn ink. Now StazOn is a permanent solvent ink which is perfect for stamping on things like window sheets and foil because it's permanent. All right, so it will mark your stamps, but that's where we use StazOn cleaner to clean them off. When you buy it, it actually has this little inner cap, so don't throw that away. It's like an inner lid. What you can do is put some dimensionals inside to stick it in the top, but it gives it extra seal, and it does dry up a little bit quicker than a normal ink pad. So I'm just going to re-ink this a little bit. Always check that you've got the right ink refill, and I can say that because I re-inked one of my pads for class and I used Memento ink refill instead of the jet black StazOn. So of course that meant the image is smeared. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which way you go. You can stamp the image first or you can do the black ice step. I'm going to do that first because that will save me smearing the image just in case. So what you do is you put it on its edge. So I'm dragging it down like this. All right, and you can see that that actually leaves a bit of a edge up here, which is part of the design. You could actually flip it round also. Another good tip, which I should have done, is to grab a Post-it note. Then you can use that as a bit of a handle. So I can drag that down and you can see it sort of makes a streaky, stormy effect on the cardstock. Now, like I said, that's a permanent ink, so it's pretty quick to dry. I just put the lid on, but I don't need to. And then I'm going to use this little image of the two little girls with their beach buckets and stamp. Now, in class, we actually used our Stamparatus because that meant if the image didn't ink up completely, we were able to add ink again and fold the Stamparatus over. But that's worked fine because I just re-inked the pad. I'll put those out of the way. And then I'm going to cut this out. I could have done this first, but I just wanted to show you the way we did it in class. So here is Nature's Thoughts. This is also retiring, and I love this little frame. Not only does it cut out a rectangle, but it also cuts out or pierces these little dots. So you can see there the effect of that. So the ladies at class just put that over wherever they wanted. So they had a bit of leeway. They could give themselves more sky or further below. And the image that they used was actually a little bit longer too. So I'm just going to go off camera to do that. And there it is cut out. with those beautiful little edges. Now, if it happens, because I did this straight away, you can see that that has marked my plate. So I can just get my StazOn cleaner onto that, and that will clean that off. I'll cut my Post-it note. I'll just get that. Okay, so that's half of the black ice technique. I'll tear away a page so we've got a clean surface here to show you the other half. Next step is your Versamark. So you can see that this Versamark ink pad is a little bit dark at each end. So that is because it's been used on this technique. And then I've got a couple of ink pads that are Versamark ink pads. They're a bit trashed. And so for something like this, I just keep them aside. All right, same idea. We don't want to go too heavy because we want to have that streaky effect. We don't want to have the Versamark over like a glaze. We want it to be a little bit sort of pocky, streaky. There, I'm just going to go from the other end. Okay, I'm going to keep my handle on, my Post-it note handle, and bring in my clear embossing powder. This is what I do. I tip my embossing powder into a container and I just mark the edge. Because all I do is I put that in. I don't even use a spoon. Tap it off. And as you can see, you've got a powdery white all over that. Sometimes with this technique, you may find there's gaps and they seem to be really obvious because the white powder isn't on them. But once you heat it, it's not so obvious. So it doesn't really matter. Okay, bring in my heat gun. And you'll see this start to change. So see how that corner has gone shiny? And all I do is sort of chase that across. So we change from powder to shiny. Okay, so if you look at that, you can see how it's not a solid glaze. See just here, that can use a little bit more heat. Just even it up. Now this is the second time I've done black ice technique in a class, and the first time we basically ended there with our technique, and we just chose, we had some lovely stamp sets with trees and things. But what we can do here that I have learnt since is we can colour on top of that with our alcohol markers. So our Stampin' Blends are fine to colour onto things like foil or a heat set embossing powder. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the brush tip end and colour in her dress. This is dark rich razzleberry. What you'll find too is that it will really shows up on the shiny surface, in that you can often see almost the brush strokes of the brush tip, especially with a dark colour. So see there on the rich razzleberry one, you can actually, whoops, they fell in the water. You can actually see a little bit of a mark there where I went over it a couple of layers. And it's just really beautiful to see how the colors show up. See how that one, that's dark fresh freesia on the right, but it almost, some of them almost glow. That's dark Bermuda. And then here we'll add dark Night of Navy on their buckets. Now I'll try this. In class, some of the ladies were using light pumpkin pie for the skin because they found that ivory didn't show up the same way it would as you might find on a white background. So light pumpkin pie, that works. And a little face. Then for the hair, I'm going to use light soft suede. They're sisters and they have the same hair color. So you can see again that that doesn't go terribly, terribly dark. So there you have it, colored images. I'll just show you, here's one of the ones we made in class. There's the lady, and we used Poppy Parade there on her dress. And a bit of Gorgeous Grape, Highland Heather, I think. Can't remember which one, but on the flowers, and then Granny Apple Green on the grass there. But you can see that they show up beautifully. Okay, also in the class, I have a few bits of what we call card guts left over. So this layer here was put through the Subtles embossing folder, which is retired. We've got a few textured ones, but that one just really suited the same sort of pattern as the black ice technique. So that's why I got all of those ready. I don't know why I flipped that over, because that one's actually pretty much the same front and back. Okay, adding that's just got that little 2.5mm border. And then this one on top. If you've done heat embossing and you've found that the layer is a bit warped, give it some extra adhesive, because that will help it to sit flat. There's our little peeps, little cuties. So you can see that that is fairly simple. Once you get your tools out, it really comes together quickly and easily. So we had a few samples from a class, and then the one we just did today. So there you go. Hope that gives you some ideas about how to do that technique, and it gets you thinking about the different sorts of stamp sets that might go with it. Not everything will work with it, but that one in particular was a lovely one. Okay, thank you. And if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. That'd be great.